The college football experience, Oklahoma State Cowboys 2024 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, Underdog Fantasy is giving away $15 million in their Best Ball Mania 5. Sign up. And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCE SGPN to claim your special first time deposit offer and $250 in bonus cash. Yes, they do have college football and college basketball. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCE SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm has the best AI picks and projections in their college football product. Well, that's about to drop. So claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
This is Mike Leach, head football coach at Mississippi State, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes, yes, yes. Woo! Welcome to the college football experience. Oklahoma State, go Pokes 2024 season preview episode. Excited to talk Cowboy. Did I put Beavers? Jeez, this is what happens. This is what happens when you do 134 previews. I took over the Oregon State one, and look, I corrected the Oklahoma, but not that. YouTube.com/the college experience. You can watch this show. Yeah, there we go. Oklahoma State Cowboys there. Disrespectful from the first 30 seconds of the show. That's the way we like it. Yeah, and look, we're pretty much concluding the Big 12 here. By this time tomorrow, we'll be done with the Big 12. All those episodes are out, which, you know, the Big 12 has 16 teams, folks. The Big 10 is entirely out. The Mountain West is entirely out. The Pac-2 is entirely out. And the SEC is all out. Go listen to those episodes as we continue to battle on this journey. If you're wondering just who the hell you're listening to, that's fair. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. Would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
Let's go. Look, I mean, an appearance in the Mountain West, or I'm sorry, Jesus, in the Big 12. You can tell I'm exhausted here. Big 12 championship game last year. I had a future on Oklahoma State. It didn't work out, but we got there. No, I didn't hedge. Excited to bring on our guest here. He has been on this very show before, and it's been a little bit, but he's been kicking ass at life. He's currently the assistant coach at Oklahoma City University basketball team. So you're going to want to check out them this year on the NAIA ranks, because they're about to kick some ass over there. Give it up for Devin Ellington. Jeez, I can't talk, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I appreciate you having me on. Love being a return guest. The hospitality is great. I'm ready to talk some Oklahoma State football.
Hell yeah. And you grew up a Pokes fan, right?
I did. Everyone around these parts in Oklahoma City was running around Boomer Sooner, and I like to root for the underdogs, and we were constantly getting our rear end smacked by Big Brother and everyone else at the time of growing up, and they needed some extra support. So I said, why not? I'll root for the Pokes.
Yeah, you had Barry Sanders at least. So, I mean, you might as well just sit back and watch that. Last time you came on the show, you did not have this fantastic hairdo, though. Shout out to that. And yeah, I mean, look, on the sidelines, Do you just rock it like that on the sidelines, or do you put it you put it up?
Oh no, I rock it. And it's kind of funny. It seems like some of it's getting blurred in the background, so it can't even fit in the. Yeah, and I don't think I've gotten a haircut since the last appearance on the show. So
there we go. There we go. Saving some money. Might look like a Doobie Brothers roadie, but I mean, hell yeah, let's kick ass. Look, excited to talk poke football, as obviously, Texas, Oklahoma, the Sooners, they're gone. Get their stinking ass out of here. But you got to think, hey, we were in the Big 12 championship game, not only last year, frequently, I would say. This could be our conference for the taking here. You're in Oklahoma. Do you feel like that's a little bit of the mindset?
It's kind of gotta be. And, in terms of the OU Texas departure, please do let the doors hit you where the good Lord split you. Like, get on out of here. Like, bygones, no bygones. Like take that money and run, do whatever you gotta do, leave our conference alone, and let's do this. And we got some great new coming teams. We'll talk a little bit about that as we talk more about the Big 12 here, but it's a very interesting conference and a metamorphosis in its own will. And, we got a lot of people coming back, got a lot of experience that we'll talk about. So I think right now we're feeling good in Gundy's 20th season.
20 season. Damn, I feel old, man. I remember when he was a coordinator in Maryland. I grew up in the DC area, so I like just crazy. Folks, before we dive into it, I do want to tell you that you are listening to the College Football Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Make sure to check out this week's featured podcast, the MLB Gambling Podcast, serving you high heat with all their picks. Trust me, you're going to need those picks to crush the rest of the MLB season. So hop on over there, check out the MLB Gambling Podcast. Plus, this very show, we are brought to you by this very show, the College Football Experience. We're knee deep at 134 team previews. I can't get the teams right name wise, but damn it, we can cap them. All right, let's go. Call me Cap Bozo over here. Look, subscribe wherever you get your podcast or the SGPN app, which is free to download in the App Store or Google Play Store. So do that. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride. All right, back talking poke football. Where are you at with Coach Gundy? Great, by the way. The elephant in the room here. Some fantastic comments when I was out in Vegas for media days. Where are you at with Coach Gundy? Year 20. Does he run shit there? Is he on Eddie Sutton level?
Well, in the terms of small little rural Stillwater, I would probably say, yeah, it's kind of easy to do that up there. And maybe that's why he felt like he could do what he did 1,000 times. But the fact of the matter here is we've got a coach in his 20th year, I think third longest tenured coach in all of college football. And you've got someone that brings stability, say what you want with his blowing games late in the fourth quarter, his play call getting a little passive whenever he should probably keep his foot on the pedal. And some Oklahoma State fans in the state, they wanted him gone because they're tired. It's kind of like a little bit of staleness in a way. But I mean, facts are facts. I mean, the guy wins probably close to double-digit games every year, and it's hard to get that stability.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, pump the brakes a little bit. I like on those fans, because Les Miles, it's not like he was setting the world on fire when he was there. Bob Simmons was struggling prior to that. Pat Jones had a couple of good years back in the mid 80s, but I mean, my point is that Mike Gundy has one losing season. YouTube.com/the college experience. We got slides talking about this, and that was his first year. And believe it or not, I know people are giving him shit. I get what he was trying to say. This day and age we live in, I think you can overdo. I get the point. He could have said it better, but he's fucking human. You know what I mean? Like, I get what he was trying to say. He could have said it better, but damn it, you got a million mics in your face. You know what I mean? Like, nonstop. I think what he was trying to say was that, we've all it is legal to go get a beer. I could go to the bar right now and drink 2 beers and I wouldn't be blowing an illegal limit. So therefore it's okay to drive home by the letter of the law. He was trying to say that, and it didn't come across that great, but a lot of overreaction in my opinion. But I guess that's everything these days. But he's 166 and 79 in 19 years as a head coach. Build the guy a fucking statue. He has 1 losing season, and that was year 1. 2-time Big 12 Coach of the Year. He's won the conference before. He's been to the championship game several times. I don't think they should even consider. I understand maybe they spend more than they used to with that Boone Pickens money that came through, but it's do they I'm old enough to remember Oklahoma State in the 80s and 90s, and they were no powerhouse. You know what I mean? If anything, they were kind of like one of the weaker programs in the Big 8 at the time. At least in the 90s to me, maybe the mid 80s when they had Barry and Thurman, and Dexter Manley and stuff, they were on another level. But yeah, I'd pump the brakes on that. I think he's fantastic. And I think your future moving forward, I know Utah's coming into the conference. I know Arizona had a great year last year. I know Colorado's got Dion and momentum. But you got to think, if you're thinking about this new future, Big 12, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Utah, maybe you throw the Buffs in there, maybe you throw TCU in there, would be at the forefront at the top of this conference moving forward. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. They kind of move into that big brother role that they were playing second fiddle to for so long, especially with the Bob Stoops regime. And now it's a chance to, flip the script and get on top of the conference.
I thought it was a really risky move for Oklahoma, to tell you the truth. And I'd be curious your thoughts growing up there. I know that they're arguably the best program from a national championship point of view. I think you could argue it that they're maybe the best program ever, but I also think, we've seen Arkansas. Arkansas had 2 losing seasons from 1950 to 1955 or something to 91. I did it. I talked about it on the Arkansas preview, but they've kind of become I think most SEC fans think of them as a doormat. Now, I don't think that'll be Oklahoma, but at the same time, to make the playoffs every year, there's too many good teams in the SEC. So if Oklahoma State can make the Big 12 theirs in a way as the team to beat, the team to circle year in, year out, and they're making the playoffs most years, I think long term that could have a major impact. Am I crazy? And what do the people think there regarding, Oklahoma's move?
I feel that the Oklahoma University supporters feel like they deserve this move. They deserve this money. They're feeling very confident about it. They got this, swagger about themselves. They feel good. And, I just want to say about the Bedlam thing is, wouldn't it be, and I don't see it happening right away with them in the SEC, like you said, too many good teams, but wouldn't it be ironic if there was a first round matchup in this new playoff format of OU, OSU and a Bedlam playoff matchup? I think that'd be really, really cool.
That'd be amazing. That would be amazing. Cause that's one of the things I'm so happy that Texas and Texas A&M are back on the schedule, and Utah and BYU. But at the same time, we have to sacrifice Bedlam. We have to sacrifice a lot of other rivalries that have happened over the years. And I hate that about that.
Sure.
I still look at the ACC. If the ACC and SEC, if Florida could play Florida State, Clemson could play South Carolina, Louisville could play Kentucky. I'm forgetting one too. Georgia Tech and Georgia, right? They can all figure it out to end the season with different conferences. Why can't Oklahoma and Oklahoma State moving forward? They got to figure that out. They got to figure that out, because you penalize the fan, you penalize the product, in my opinion, by not having that game on the schedule there. We're going to talk more about the Pokes here in a second. But before I do that, I want to tell you the college football experience, Oklahoma State Cowboys 2024 season previews, brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, Underdog Fantasy just launched their Underdog Streaks. Yes, hit your first 2 pick'em entries, and then go streaking. What did Will Ferrell say? Who's going streaking? Who's going streaking? Look, if you can get on an 11-0 run, you could win 1,000 times the amount of money you enter. Plus, Best Ball Mania is live with $15 million in prizes. You can now use specials and boost on all flexed entries too. So sign up, and when you do, sign up with the promo code TCE SGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer of up to $250 in bonus cash. Once again, UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCE SGPN. We're also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is now an authorized place of the MLB, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. And prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the game. With killer last minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Look, football season is a month away, folks. Like I've been to Boone Pickett Stadium there in Stillwater. Great stadium. Love how close the fan base is to the action in that stadium, and I also just think their fans are fantastic. But I had to use that just go into the old website, type it in, Oklahoma State, and sometimes they can make whether it's the team website, whether it's whatever other website, it can appear like you're getting a ticket in this one area just off of some like almost like a 1990 video game point of view, like on the website that is, and you show up there and you're like, this looks nothing like the seat they sold me. Well, Game Time actually has taken a photo, like they've gone in there. They have a view from wherever the seat would be that they put in there. So you'll actually see a real, it's almost like Google Earth or something where you'll see that. I highly recommend that. I think that stuff really matters. You don't want to show up and find out there's a pillar in your way. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the redeeming code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Of course, terms apply. Once again, create that account, redeeming code CFBX for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, we are back talking Poke football. I got to ask you this as an Oklahoma State fan. We do this for every team. This is not driven by any disliking for the university, which I actually like the university. But what's the worst loss there? Like early in the 2000s, Les Miles got had by Southern Miss on a home and home. La Tech got him once. I think that was also Les Miles. And then I think the rest were Gundy. That is there one that stands out of like you just hate it?
That Central Michigan one, that was just because the importance of that game. They were, I believe, if I recall right, number 2 in the polls at the time. They win that game, they probably play in the BCS title game, and it was heartbreaking. It was gut wrenching. It should have ended in a win. It didn't. And we haven't quite gotten up until recently, getting that Big 12 title game appearance and coming up a yard short recently against Baylor. But we haven't really quite gotten that close to the title game since, I would say. And I still remember exactly where I was and what kind of mood I was in and all that good stuff. It was heartbreaking.
Yeah. I know the South Alabama one last year too was a bit perplexing, but I figured the CMU one. I feel like I bring it up to when I talk to Oklahoma State fans, they bring up that Central Michigan and they say that the game should have there should have been a 10-second runoff and it didn't happen. But the ref did botch that. But that game was wild. Offensively, a season ago, the Pokes were 53rd in the nation, scoring just about 30 points a game. 8th in the Big 12. They were 30th in yards, top 30 in yards. 8th in the Big 12, 25th in passing, 4th in the Big 12 with Alan Bowman there. 67th in rushing, 9th best in the Big 12. Remember, there was 14 teams in the Big 12 last season, folks. 16 this year. Like it's confusing. I get it. You got 10 starters back, man. Whew. And you could argue 11. Alan Bowman has been in college since the fucking Doobie Brothers dropped that first album that I was referring to earlier. He's like 47 years old. This is what I love about this conference. I love about the preseason favorites are depending on the website you use, because some say Utah and Kansas State, some say Utah and Oklahoma State. But if it's Utah and Oklahoma State, both teams have 7th year starting quarterbacks. Unbelievable. I like that, and it's something that I do think.
Well, I don't get.
Sorry, I had something to say about that, but it's something that I do think is not talked about enough.
You know, a lot of people go to college for 7 years.
Is last season and really the past couple of years, even the year with Burrow with LSU, he was a 5th year senior. If you look at the teams that go to the playoffs, for the most part, yes, there's an example for like Tua came in as a freshman, right, for Bama, but a lot of them have been super experienced quarterback play. Like if you look at it, or like the top set, like 7 to 10 teams in the country. I know Oregon didn't get in last year, and they probably should have if it was if we had a proper system, because they're really good. Same with Florida State. Jordan Travis was, a super experienced quarterback. Bo Nix, super experienced. Michael Penix, unbelievably experienced quarterback. So it's kind of been a big ingredient in the postseason. TCU's run, with I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name, but he was experienced at the time. He's on the Chargers now. Duggan.
Duggar?
Yeah. So like it's vital. CJ Stroud was a senior that year or junior. He was in his third. He was an upperclassman, but it's been kind of vital that that Stetson Bennett was like 7th year. So I think that is huge going into this season. It needs to be highlighted that Alan Bowman, say what you want about the guy, but the guy's super old and experienced, and I think that will pay off in a lot of big time games. Where are you at with Bowman? I know, he's bounced around. He was at Texas Tech. He was at Michigan. Now he's at Oklahoma State, but your thoughts on him in general?
Well, I think for sure he's got to cut down on the turnovers a little bit. And I think he's 7 years in college football. He should be able to figure out how to do that. The leadership quality is going to be there. The offensive system, the knowledge for that. I think overall, I mean, you could be in a lot worse position at your quarterback position. And I think there's a lot of schools out there in the country that are in fact in that worse off position. So I like having him in there. I do.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a Stetson Bennett wasn't the best quarterback in the nation, but he was he just had that moxie and it factor. Olive Garden, we like to call him the Olive Garden. Olive Garden is back. Speculation on whether he'll be suspended or not. I think it seems like he's not, but he was a beast last season. And the receivers, Brennan Presley, Dejon Stribling. I remember Stribling when he was at Wazoo. Also have Rashad Owens, who started 5 games for you. So you pretty much, that's why I was arguing maybe 11 starters back. If you look at previewing these teams, are so much harder these days because what's a returning starter? If you got 4 starts, you got 5, like depending on the site you use or whoever you talk to, they might say, oh, you got this many returning starters. Why? Oh, he started a game last year. Well, 1 game, but no, Owens started 5 games last season. They bring back the entire offensive line, which you got to love. Dalton Cooper, Jason Brooks, Joe McLesley, Preston Wilson, Jake Springfield, all back. Holy shit. In the transfer portal day and age, to bring back 10 starters, arguably 11, I need to like send them a plaque or something. Like this is much easier work for me. I mean, I got to type in more names, but when I go through the portal, that's just chaotic. But I mean, where do you think they'll be? Do you think they'll be a better offense than a season ago?
I'd like to believe so. 214 career starts back on the offensive line. Olive Garden, as you mentioned, he's a dynamic talent. First OSU running back since 1989 to have 100+ receiving yards and rushing yards in the same game since what was his name? I've got it right here. Who was that? 1989.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter. Anyways,
It's
he's
Barry
done.
Sanders. It's got to be Barry Sanders, right?
It wasn't actually.
Yeah.
That's why I thought it was pretty interesting. Gerald Hudson.
Nice pull. Nice pull.
So,
yeah.
All that experience has to equate,
Yeah. I just think, man, you got a loaded offense here. The numbers should be much better. Also, like I said, there's no Oklahoma and Texas in the conference. Now in the portal, you did lose Gundy, coach's son, sent him off to Peden Stadium in Athens, Ohio. Jaden Nixon heads out to the Western Michigan Broncos. Jaden Bray going to West Virginia. They're on the schedule, so that one maybe might mean something. Shout out to Daquan the Great. Blaine Green to Stephen F. Austin, Tyrone Weber on the offensive line, and Glass to Arizona State. Yeah. No, Glass is coming in. My bad. I think Glass is coming in. That was my fuck up. But running back AJ Green is coming in from Arkansas. Trent Holland from Indiana. I really like when you think about Olive Garden here, Ollie Gordon mixed with Trent Holland and AJ Green. I think the running back room is in pretty good shape. If anything, I think it's better shape than it was a year ago. Agreed?
Yeah. Overall, I mean, yes, they lose number 2 and 3 from last year, but they seem to supplement it and add back, make sure that they didn't lose too much and just have one guy and Ollie Gordon in the backfield. They kind of give some spell action in that. So I think the depth is good to add to that.
Yeah. Also bringing in Gavin Freeman from Oklahoma.
The fuck is that?
But look, maybe he wanted to stay. Maybe he's like, man, I'm not trying to play all these games in South Carolina and Kentucky and everything. I just want to stay in Oklahoma and Texas for the most part. Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess all these conferences are good luck. But Dewan Lofton from Virginia Tech comes in. Tight end Tyler Foster from the Ohio Bobcats, and Isaiah Glass, is coming in from Arizona State, not leaving. I'm going to say they won the portal just on offense, at least. We'll talk about the defense in a second, but I think you got better players coming in than you had leaving. And I think that to go with 10 starters back, arguably 11, is fantastic news for Pokes fans. Would you agree?
I would agree. I think they got stronger at receiver, and then also having Josiah Johnson there as well, another great talent to supply some depth. I think they just did get a lot deeper in the 2, maybe sometimes 3 deep in certain positions. And I think there's a lot of experience, again, like I've already said, on this team, and they should be set up for some good success.
I think I agree with you. Gonna talk defense here in a second too, but before I do that, I do want to also mention that the college football experience Oklahoma State preview is brought to you by Rhythm. If you're not checking out the AI picks and props from Rhythm, well, you are missing out. They just dominated the British Open. And their college football product, it's about to drop. You can customize your own betting models easily using Rhythm's tools. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. We're also brought to you by Circa Survivor and Circa Millions. I was just out in beautiful Las Vegas, staying at the Circa for media days last week. That place is always amazing. Stadium Swim. Derek Stevens just knocks it out the park with that place. Circa Sports is back with the Circa Survivor at Circa Millions, giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes. Imagine the regret you'll have if you win your office pool for $200 or whatever number, but you didn't enter the Circa Survivor where you could become a millionaire. I mean, it's really that simple. You don't have a trip booked yet for Vegas before football season. Get out there. Ultimate Contest Weekend. Highly recommend that. It's a great time to go. If so, you can hang with my pals, Stacking the Money Green and Real Money Kramer from the Sports Gambling Podcast, and enjoy some of the open bar events at the greatest sports book in the world, August 22nd to August 24th. Also, use the promo code SGP15 to save you 15% off your hotel room that weekend. You can thank us later. Also, sign up in person at Circa Sports between now and September 7th, and you can use a proxy to play from anywhere. We even have a deal with footballcontestproxy.com that'll save you $50 with the promo code SGP. So check all that action out And remember, as always, to let it ride. All right. Talking defense. Shout out to Troy tuning in the chat, who hosts the Big 12 preview. I'm sorry, Jesus, I can't talk. The Big 12 college football experience. It's my like 5th show of the day, so just a little bit of just diarrhea of the mouth. But yeah, check out the Big 12 experience. Troy's a hell of a good guy. And he's a Pokes fan too, isn't he? Troy, aren't you a Pokes fan or are you a Baylor fan? I never remember. 86th in scoring defense a season ago was Oklahoma State, 28.6 points per game. They were 3rd best in the Big 12. They were also 122nd in yards, which I think is not accurate for 2nd best in the Big 12. Now that I think about it, but 123rd in passing and 96th in rush defense. The defense could get better. Now they had Jim Knowles a few years ago. He's now at Ohio State, kind of dominating there. They really turned a corner last year at Ohio State, but Brian Nardo, who had came from like, I think the D2 ranks, if memory serves me correct.
Gannon, he's got 8, if I remember
what's
right.
That? Say that again. Yeah.
D2 Gannon.
Yeah. 8 starters back on the defensive side of the ball. You gotta love this, man. And punters back, Hudson Cock. I feel like that's Cock. But 8 starters back, the whole secondary. I mean, what am I missing here? I mean, the defense has got to get a lot better in a way from a statistical standpoint, but it's gonna be a lot better when you bring 8 starters back. Am I wrong?
It's got to be. And they also were able to move some guys around. Safety moved up to the rover spot, Cameron Epps, so they had enough depth to move him around. They got stud linebackers with Colin Oliver, Nick Martin, lots of tackles coming back. Nardo in his, I believe, 2nd year now. Is that what we said? Second year.
Oh, no. I actually think it might be 3rd. I think it's third. No, it's second because you had Derek Mason for 1 year.
That's
right, Derek Mason for 1 year. Yeah.
Yeah. And those rankings in the Big 12, second in pretty much every defensive category, getting more experienced, and only lost one secondary starter, or not even a starter. They lost one backup in the secondary from last year. And I think at each level, they get a little bit more experience. They should be a little bit better against the run on the front 7 side. And they should climb in some pass defensive ratings. So,
Yeah. Troy's cracking me out. He says you could kill it on the drums, huh? Yeah.
I can sit in the pocket pretty good. I play pretty good 4-4. Yeah,
there we go. We go. 8 starters back, and I do think this defense will be better. Another thing to mention is, as much as we want to talk about a questionable move, Oklahoma leaving, but Oklahoma's offense was fire. Texas's offense was fire, and to know that you're not going to be facing those, that does mean something. Let's talk about what happened in the portal. You lost, a couple guys, but I don't think now McKinney was a guy that I think started a couple games. He heads out to Coach Prime in Colorado. He's on the schedule. The rest, okay. Donovan Stevens goes to Bowling Green. Lalea on the D line to Utah State. Nick Sessions to New Mexico State. Ladarius Webb Jr. to South Bama. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like that maybe the McKinney one hurts a little bit, but you still return your whole damn secondary. Then you go out and you bring in two players. Love, this makes my job so easy. Kobe Hilton coming in from UTEP, and then Obi Ezigbo from Gannon. Yes.
Yep. Familiar with the system.
Yes. Now this one, I don't know that I think if you were to compare the two, I'd say you probably lost a little bit on the defense side of the ball just in volume, but you still won the portal overall because the offensive additions were so big compared to what left. I would say Oklahoma State won the transfer portal. If someone asked me, how about you? Would you say they won the portal?
I'd say definitely. And even on defense, we're losing some numbers, but and no shame to my small conference schools. I love them equally. I love them all. The Sun Belt, all the,
yeah.
the Conference USAs. But you look and see where those guys transferred to. I think they're probably just looking for some playing time. They knew that we were pretty stacked in the 2 deep, and they probably saw that they weren't going to get a lot of opportunity. And I think overall quantity is less important than quality in certain instances. And I think that this is the case for transfer additions and losses.
Yeah. I think I would say they won the portal. They return. I mean, to return 18 starters in this day and age is pretty. Like I was doing that. Only a few teams I feel like are really bringing back that many. The win total is set at 8 wins. They're plus 750 to win the Big 12 championship, which from the start. Why would you not? Wait a second though. If it's plus 750 to win the Big 12 championship, you might as well just take the plus 800 to make the 12 team playoff, because if they win the Big 12 championship, they're going to the 12 team playoff, folks. That's an auto bid on the line. So plus 800 available for you, the plus 20 grand to win the Natty. So what, 200 to 1 there. Yeah, I mean 8 wins from the start. I know we're going to go game by game on the schedule, but first reaction, I'm looking historically at Oklahoma State football seasons, really, since the turn of the century. And it seems like most years you're at least over that or exactly on 8. Like for the past 5 seasons, 8 wins, 12 wins, 7 wins, 10 wins last season. So pretty damn safe bet, right? Okay. 1 year he's had 7 win seasons, 3 times in the past 10 seasons, but he's also had 5 double-digit win seasons in the past 10 years, and then a few other 8 win seasons there. First thought, would you just jump on that over?
You've got to think so. I mean, with a coach like Gundy, who averages pretty much about 8 to 10 wins per year, and he's won 66 and 79 in 20 years, so not quite 10 wins a year. You got the chance at the push with the even number there. I think that you got to look at that and say, yeah. I mean, they split, which we'll talk about, but they split their 2 toughest games in the conference schedule, one at home, one on the road, and plus 750 looks pretty enticing also for the championship.
Yeah, I mean, but I just think you play the 800, because if you win the championship, you make the playoff.
Touche.
Yeah. But I will say this: last year's schedule much easier than this. This year's schedule is. So last season, folks, just to have you understand what I mean by this assessment here, is they drew all 4 of the new schools: UCF, Cincinnati, Houston, and BYU. That look, even Utah, when they joined the Pac-12, went 5-7 their first 2 years. To get those 4 schools on the schedule, part of the reason why I took a future on them to win the Big 12 last year was that. The schedule's a lot harder this year. And then in the non-con, compared to last year you had Arizona State, who was horrible in the non-con. You did have South Alabama, who was good, but Central Arkansas is an FCS compared to what you're going to be playing. We'll dive into it right here, folks. YouTube.com/the college experience. The schedule's there. If you're wondering what the number is on the right, I power rank these for what I think are the 1 being the hardest game and 12 being the easiest. But I'll be honest, I had a hard time doing it. I had most of them are pretty obvious, but damn, this one was very challenging. Now let's get into it, because week 1, you're playing a team that hasn't lost in 2 years. South Dakota State is really fucking good. Like, I think they'd be a bowl team in the Big 12. I know, like, they're that good in my opinion. And they return. Gronowski could have transferred anywhere. He returns to South Dakota State. I don't know. I just feel like that game is super tricky. Now let me bring up this point too. Gundy, I want to know your opinion because I was debating this with somebody. In my opinion, he always starts slow. Am I wrong? Yeah.
The first couple weeks are always scary. They had that tight game against Tulsa. They struggled.
They should have lost one of those ones against Tulsa. It was a bullshit holding penalty.
They struggled against Patino when he was in his rehab assignment.
Yeah. I just feel like I feel like historically, whether it was the Central Michigan game, whatever the games are, so South Alabama last year, the Tulsa matchups, I feel like they always start slow, but they end the season on like a tear. So my thing is this though, like if you compare the schedule to last season's road games, Arizona State, terrible team, right? They were in a brand new head coach, 2 years or second game. I'm sorry. And their whole team had left. Then you got a road trip to Ames where Iowa State had 30 players suspended, right? Then you had a road trip to West Virginia. Now that was a very impressive win in Morgantown. That place gets lit. But then you got your ass whooped in another road spot at UCF, lost by 42, and then one at Houston by 13. My point here is you played two teams with a winning, or no, only one team with a winning record. UCF was 6-7, right? You look at this year's road schedule. It's at Tulsa, it's at Kansas State, it's at BYU, it's at Baylor, it's at TCU, and it's at Colorado. There's more away games but just to give you an idea, folks, I have every team but one of those bowling. So I think the road schedule is way harder this year. So they have to take care of business at home. I think they're 7.5, 8-point favorites against South Dakota State. I'm terrified of this game, dude. I'm going to take them to win, but I think it's a game, dude. I think it's a game. Because another thing is you have the old Arkansas game on deck, which is an old school rivalry. Mm-hmm. You get the SEC coming to your town. I don't know, man. I just think why do I find the South Dakota State game more dangerous than the Arkansas game?
I gotta side with you on that. The Jackrabbits cannot be slept on. I believe it opened at 8.5, which, fun fact here, I actually grabbed the 8.5, and I've seen that it's dropped by the hook down to 8. Like you said, 7.5 probably in some places. But this is the first meeting between the two. Gundy is 15-0 straight up against FCS schools. And I think they get the job done. I think it's probably a little sloshy, little trepidous and scary, but I think ultimately maybe they get it done by 6 to 7 points. But that 8.5, it was one of the first week one lines that I actually grabbed myself.
Yeah, it's funny. I was out in Vegas last week, and I feel like the trendy pick was North Dakota State to beat Colorado. Right? It seemed like a lot of people I was talking to. I think North Dakota State can cover that game. I'm probably not going to take that, but I think this is actually the more dangerous one that no one's talking about. I'll say this: between South Dakota State and Arkansas to start the season, I'd have them 1-1. Do you have 2-0?
I think I got to go 1-1 also. Going on from, beating a stressed out, in a stressed out environment, trying to get that win against an FCS team, a tough FCS team, and then going right into some SEC physicality. And like we said, Gundy tends to start a little slow. He's a grower, not a shower.
Well, and then to me, I had to power rank Tulsa 12th. I actually liked Tulsa this year. I think Kevin Wilson did a great job in year one. Now, is it you're familiar with this? H.A. Chapman Stadium, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Will this be a Pokes crowd?
It very well could be. Tulsa and Stillwater's not that far apart. Tulsa is, like you said, they got a good trajectory going with this coach. They're starting to take on to this matchup as like a new rivalry. I spent some time at Tulsa University for a school event recently, and the chatter on that campus was we want the Pokes. We're ready to take the moniker of little brother and then get some upsets here and there. And like you said, I mean, they've played Gundy and the Pokes pretty tight.
2021. Oklahoma State won 28-23 in Stillwater to Tulsa. I don't know if that was the one I think the one I was talking about might have been in 20. Yeah. I don't know. One of those ones, because Tulsa played them close in 20 as well. But one of those ones I thought it was a horrible holding penalty. Like Tulsa scores a touchdown with like a couple minutes left in the game to take a lead. And they call it a holding penalty. And I was like, on the replay, I was like, he didn't do shit. But I got them beating Tulsa. 2-1 in the non-con. How does that sound?
I think that sounds pretty reasonable. Very good. Yeah.
Okay, but here's another thing I hate about this schedule, and a shout out to BR7062 who's in the chat, who's a Pokes fan as well, and feel free to list your opinions there, BR7062. I hate having Utah and Kansas State in September when you have historically you struggle in September. Am I crazy?
Not crazy at all. Very sane. Very sane.
I think I got Utah beating them, dude. As long as Cam Rising's healthy, which is that's a big if because he's been injured a lot. I think Utah is the more physical football team, and I feel like now that I will say this, like Stillwater, Boone Pickett Stadium does get lit, so I just think Utah's a little bit better. Like Cam Rising's better than Alan Bowman, and I think they're a little more physical on the line of scrimmage. But fascinated by this game. It's one of the best games the entire Big 12 season, maybe the best. Who you taking in this one?
You know, I gotta roll with the Boone Pickens magic on this one. This is a conference opener. I should have done the research on this, but I'd be interested to see what Gundy's conference opener record is. But I think they for sure split with Utah, Kansas State. So I'm going to give them Utah.
Makes sense. I mean, Utah's not the same team too on the road, but I just feel like, man, I just did the Utah preview yesterday. And some of the guys they brought in, I'm like, and I can tell you this also. I think he's undefeated in his openers since 2020. No, actually, Iowa State got him last year. 34-27. So no, but he's what 4-1 or 3-1. The very next week you go to the Little Apple. So I have you right now at what 2-2. Going to K-State.
Yeah. I don't think they leave Manhattan, Kansas with a win on that one.
I know Gundy's had Kleiman's number, but there've been some close games, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say you lose this. I know it sounds so. I got him at 2-3, but don't worry, folks. You got good stuff coming. And I don't want to panic yet. You're 0-2 in Big 12 play, but like I said, trust Gundy. What do you have? You have them losing in Manhattan. So you got them at what 3-3 or no? Yeah,
3-2.
3-2. My bad. Yeah. Then you're home to West Virginia. This is a win. This is the get right spot. It's October. You're out of September. It's a win, and you're 1-2 in conference play. And now you head into a bye week. You got them beating West Virginia?
I do. West Virginia's off the bye, but outside of Morgantown, they can be a little skeptical. And since 2015, OSU 8-1 straight up and ATS against West Virginia. So give me the Pokes to get the ship righted. After coming back from Manhattan.
Yeah. Then you travel. Love the bye week here because you go to Provo. BYU is one that I feel like is going to be a little bit better this year. You look at some of their close losses a year ago. I think it's a win. I think it's a win for Oklahoma State, but if the bye week wasn't there, this would have been a loss for me, but give me the win. How about you here in Provo?
First trip there. I think they might get a little shell shocked. BYU has did they get a new coach this offseason?
No, they still have Sataki. But he's on the hot seat. He's coaching for his life. Yeah.
So I'm gonna roll with the Cougs in Provo. That's a tough place to play. That
place gets super lit. But you have back-to-back aways here. BYU and Baylor. Baylor is the hardest team to read in America. So every time you think they're horrible, they go like 12-1, win the conference. I'm kind of convinced that Oklahoma State's a better team. It scares me a little bit, the second end of a back-to-back away though, but give me the Pokes to go to win both away games here.
I think they split the road trip. They've won 3 of the last 4 against Baylor, lead the series 23-19. So I think they go ahead and make it 4 out of the last 5 against the Bears. And like you said, Aranda might be on one of the hottest seats in the country. So, he may or may not be coaching the Bears at this point in the season, but very hard read on the Bears for sure.
Always. It's been like that for like a decade. I feel like it's like, they're just a weird team. It's like, I don't know that I've been wrong more about any other team in the nation certain years than Baylor. Arizona State comes to town November 2nd. I think that's a win. I think I think that's 3 straight wins. And I think this momentum to make the Big 12 championship is building as you prepare for Fort Worth. But you got them taking down the Sun Devils?
I do. That's an easy win. I listened to the Arizona State preview yesterday, and yeah, that's a team that's just in shambles.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like that program was always super talented, but it's crazy to see what's happened there. Then you head to Fort Worth. I'm not very high on TCU this year. I think Oklahoma State's going to go into Fort Worth and get that dub. So I got you going 4-0 during this stretch here, which puts them in the driver's seat moving forward. In a way, like 2 losses will get you. You win out, you're going to be in the Big 12 championship. I think BR 7062 says Gundy never loses after a bye week. Is that true? Have I? Is that traditionally been a thing? If so, that's something to note. Well, then it changes what I had going on here because my final 2 games, home to Texas Tech on November 23rd, and then at Colorado November 30th. I had them going 1-1. I had a hard time deciding which one would be the one. But I think if that's true about my Gundy, then I have them beating Texas Tech and losing at Colorado. Either way, 3 losses, I still think gets you to the Big 12 championship. Well, actually with 16 teams, maybe it's a crazy tiebreaker where a 3-loss team will be in. Maybe it doesn't mean that it's definitely going to be Oklahoma State, but I have the 8-4 exactly on that number. What are you doing these final 2 weeks here? Home to Texas Tech and at Colorado.
I think they for sure get that win off the bye against the Red Raiders. And I know you love your Buffs, but I think I got to give them the win there, especially since, you look at the end of the season, Travis Hunter, Shadur Sanders, they could very well just have checked out a couple weeks prior to this matchup with the NFL on the horizon. And, the Pokes are currently on a 5-2 ATS run in Big 12 road finales. So I think, Gundy is locked in at this time of the year. So I think he gets it done out there in the great state of Colorado.
Yeah, no, I will say that that's an interesting element. I think Colorado is going to be in the mix still. So I think they'll have something to play for. But if they don't, I think that's a great point. So you got them 9-3 essentially, correct?
I do.
Okay.
It seems to be the case. Yeah.
Well, I have them 8-4. The problem is for me is the numbers on 8. So if you're asking me, and by the way, the over is -130, the under's +110. What's more likely, 7-5 or 9-3? I do think it's 9-3. Yeah. I will say though that do you believe that when Gundy puts when they come in with big expectations, they've struggled more, or is that just the national media being off a little bit?
No, I would definitely side with that narrative. It seems to be the case with a lot of these Big 12 teams. But for sure, whenever they're flying under the radar, they kind of exceed expectations. No one was expecting them to do what they did whenever they finished. But I think it was like 6th in the AP. They got that bowl win against Notre Dame, largest comeback in program history. Yards short of perhaps being in the 14 playoff. And so, I mean, yeah, I would definitely say that that's a true statement that can be valid.
Well, let's play devil's advocate there. Or best case scenario is what? 11-1 with the one loss being in Manhattan.
I would say, yeah. Best case, they could come out strong, knowing the importance of performing really well against the SEC school. They could fool me on that Arkansas game and get the win against the Razorbacks. I think playing in Manhattan is just very, very, very tough. Like you said, those games have been really close, and those win losses in the series recently could very well level out. But I think, best case scenario is at least 10 wins, double digits again.
Now let's play the other side of that coin, because if like for me, I have 8-4, so I think 9-3 is more likely than 7-5, but the schedule is way harder than last year's, in my opinion. Now the team, luckily you have 18 starters back. That kind of helps it, but let's play devil's advocate. What's the worst record you could see out of 18 starters back in this schedule? Losing to Utah and K-State.
Worst case scenario, for sure, them starting 1-4 in their first 5 games. If they get upset versus SDS, South Dakota State there, that could have a rollover effect against Arkansas, lose that game in an ugly fashion. They don't have confidence going in against Tulsa, and they squeak a Tulsa win out. Then they got to play against Utah in the opener. They lose that one. Then they got to travel to Manhattan. I think that worst case scenario would be that 1-4 start, and then you're just kind of fighting for your life. And then you got some really tough games there, like at Provo, at Waco,
Yeah.
So
watch Baylor be good again,
sure.
and that turns into all of a sudden like a huge game. So what the worst case scenario is? What, like 6-6, 7-5?
On the cusp of missing a bowl game. Yeah, if things just go off the tracks, God forbid, knock on wood. But if something does happen to a key player on offense, and it could get ugly. It could. Yeah.
I'll say this. This is what I mean when I compare. So let me just. I'm looking at last year's schedule. Central Arkansas was not an FCS playoff team, right? So that was the FCS game. They played Arizona State, Cincinnati, UCF, Houston, BYU. What's that? 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. They played 5 teams with a losing record. I look at this schedule. Depending on Baylor. And depending on TCU, I don't think TCU is that good this year, but I think Baylor's going to go like 6-6 if I had to guess. But don't pay attention to what I'm saying. I've had a horrible read on Baylor over the past couple of years. But based on my projections, I have Baylor as a bowl team. I have BYU as a bowl team. I do not have Arizona State, and I think TCU is fringe. I'm doing their preview tomorrow. But I have every other team kind of in the mix for a bowl game, including Arkansas, and then I have South Dakota State. I think they're the preseason favorites to win the national championship in the FCS. So it's like this is a big test compared to last season, because every other team to me, I think Texas Tech is a contender. You know what I mean? I think Colorado is better than what people think. I think BYU is better than what people think. I think West Virginia is still a good team. They bring back a ton. Kansas State, loaded. Utah, loaded. Tulsa, I think is a surprise team in the AAC. I think they'll make a bowl. It's a hard schedule, man. I lean still 9-3 just because Gundy's got this track record of doing it. I think 8-4 is what's going to happen. And unfortunately, what that will do to me of having 3 conference losses, there still could be a scenario. Like, I don't know. They haven't released these tiebreakers. Right. And these idiots in the college football playoff built this model to have this 12-team playoff based on 5 conferences of 10 to 12 to 14 teams. They did not build it on 4 conferences with 17 teams, 18 teams, 16 teams, 16 teams. So what that does is it kind of like, I don't know how the fuck you're going to get out of this, because if you say that your tiebreaker is this, there's a reason why they haven't released this stuff. Too many teams don't play each other.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, it creates this crazy situation like we saw in the Mountain West last year. And that was in a 12-team conference. But my point is that I don't know that they'd be in the championship game. Like I think 3 losses is going to get you into the championship game, but that could be Kansas State. That could be fucking Baylor for all I know, since I never can understand them. I think it could be Texas Tech. I think it could be West Virginia. I think it could be. Honestly, I think UCF is my like dark horse in this conference. When I like projected, I'm thinking Utah and UCF playing for the Big 12 championship based on the fact that they don't play Oklahoma State, but it could easily be Oklahoma State. It could easily, if Oklahoma State beats Utah, then they'll have that tiebreaker. That's why that game is so key. Fascinated by this thing, but I also think it is a little risky in a way of taking them plus 750. Now there's great odds on that, but the question is I just want them to release the tiebreaker scenario, because I would like to play it out in my head of, are we going by wins within the conference? Because if so, I think Oklahoma State does draw a pretty good conference slate, whereas UCF I think has an easier schedule. So that would matter, and I would say, oh, I like Oklahoma State's chances. But all of this is going to be, we'll have to do a deep dive on this. We'll see when they release it. They'll probably, and all the conferences, not only the Big 12, Big 10 hasn't released shit. And you're sitting there with 18 teams, like trying to pencil in who would be there with the tiebreaker. Is it most top 25 wins? Is it record in the non-con? There's a lot of different ways you can dice this. So pay attention to that. But I think Oklahoma State will be there in the end with a chance to play for the Big 12 championship. So let's get to the elephant in the room. You got them winning the Big 12 championship?
Winning it, I just think the Big 12 is too self-cannibalistic. I think it's tough, and we really didn't even mention the winning ways of Lance Leipold out in Lawrence, Kansas. Yeah. They could be another dart throw, and I think with those strong teams like Kansas State and Utah competing with Oklahoma State towards the top, then you throw in the chances of, like you said, a dark horse in UCF. I think winning the Big 12 championship, no. I think they have a good chance of perhaps getting there. But like
you only have them with 2 conference losses, so they're there. I think if that happens, yeah. It's to me where I feel like whoever has the 3rd loss, and maybe I'm way wrong. Maybe both teams have 2 losses, but I just feel like there's so much carnage. Like, to me, this conference is deeper than the other conferences. Mm-hmm. So you can't afford a layup, like I look at this schedule, especially with the non-con added to it. And like, if you don't bring your A game, you're going to lose to anyone on the schedule. Mm-hmm. Maybe Arizona State would be the one where you could not bring your A game and still win. But even the Tulsa game, to me, because that's their Super Bowl, it's a hell of a schedule, man. I lean over. Gundy's got a track record of doing this. But I'm certainly not locking this thing up. To me, I think if you're going to bet this, if you're an Oklahoma State fan, you want to bet this, and I might even bet this, I think you take them to make the 12-team playoff at plus 800. I think that's the best value for the best thing that could actually become a reality. With this many starters back, the schedule I think is challenging enough where you could see them 8-4, but still in the Big 12 championship. So don't take, and the juice, if you take the over, the juice is not that good there. Vegas is basically telling you they're slightly leaning to 9 wins. So it's minus 130. I think the smartest thing to do is jump on the 12-team playoff thing. You agree?
I would agree in terms of value for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm fascinated by the Big 12 this year, man. By them having this many teams. We didn't even talk Arizona either. Arizona's a wild card. Like there's a lot of wild cards in this conference. I previewed Cincinnati the other day, and I came into it thinking like they're going to be trash. I don't like the Satterfield hire, but then you look what they bring back. You look at how many close games, and you're like, and their schedule, they get like the worst teams in the conference for the most part. You're just like, could they actually be a fucking player? I don't think they will be, but I think 6-6 or something, but it still wouldn't shock me based on how generous the schedule is for them. So gonna be fascinating. I am on the over though when it's all said and done. I think 8-4 though. When this was at 8.5 like a month ago or 6 weeks ago or something, and I thought there might it was juiced to the over, and I thought, oh, there's value in grabbing, them to go 9-3. But now with the way that the number is, I don't think it's a wise bet to take the over or the under. Anyway, so folks, give Devin here a follow on Twitter. And make sure you check out Oklahoma. Talk a little bit about this year. Last time I talked to you, you were doing broadcasting stuff, but you are an assistant sitting coach at Oklahoma City University for basketball. That's super awesome. That's super cool. And how did this come to fruition, man?
Yeah, so I was continuing my broadcasting and journalism journey into the education sphere, and I knew that I was going to be a student at Oklahoma City University, and I knew that I was going to be working with the student publications, covering the team, be working on achieving my goal of becoming editor-in-chief over there for the student paper. And I essentially just reached out to head coach Mark Barikoff, shout out Coach B, and emailed him and literally just was like, hey, I'm this person. I'm passionate about this. I feel I can bring this value to the team. I can do this. Started with me wanting to offer some analytics in terms of data, film scrubbing, that kind of thing. And he was actually looking for someone to, fill a role for that kind of purpose. And he shot me a text message almost simultaneously. We talked on the phone. I came into the office, met the staff, and we hit it off, met the players. And now we're rolling into year 2 with the team. And we had freshman player of the year in the conference last year. And we got some really awesome Australians on the team. We got an international connection. We got 4 Aussies on the team. And
there we go.
So I'm now an assistant coach for them and their executive analytical advisor.
There you go. I like this. You get to go on some of these recruiting trips to send you to Sydney?
Not Sydney, and so much at the NIA level. We do a lot of the recruiting. It's a little virtual.
How the hell do you recruit Australia? What are you doing? Just doing Zoom? Is this how this?
Coach Barikoff works his magic. He's got a really good connection in the basketball world at one of the academies out there who's got some really great players. So it's just a relationship that he's built. And I see BR7062 OC. So UCO are the Broncos. We're actually the Stars, but I love the support anyway there, BR. So go OCU Stars. But yeah,
there we go.
Yeah,
OCU Stars, dude. That's fantastic, man. I'm excited for you. I'm excited. Keep chasing your passion, brother. Good shit will happen, man. And I gotta catch a game when I come to town, man.
Oh, we'd love to treat you. You got a shirt. We got some jerseys. We'll hook you up with some gear. I'd love to have you out. Tickets.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah. Hell yeah, man. I appreciate that. And I'll definitely take you up with that at some point. Folks, make sure you check out how did you say it again? UC. What was it again? OCU. Yeah. Oklahoma University of Oklahoma City. Go check out their basketball squad. They're going to be doing some things this year. You better believe that. Devin Ellington, folks, appreciate you. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. And the college football experience. I almost said the college basketball experience. We're talking ball. Is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. Make sure you hop on over to YouTube, youtube.com/the college experience. Devin, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show, man. And I'm excited to see your next step as far as how things go with the basketball program, and hopefully we'll be sending some texts about the Pokes this season. Maybe a special season, maybe an 11-1 and the ultimate fuck you to Oklahoma. Let's go. What else do I want to say? Stadium Heads podcast. Check that out. Boone Pickens Stadium is awesome. We talked that podcast is about what makes college football great, the classic stadiums. So go check out that. I've been to Boone Pickens Stadium. I think it's fantastic. So check that out to get more educated on that. And also check out the FCS college football experience. You might learn a thing or two about South Dakota State. They're legit folks. And if you do not take them seriously, they will beat you. They beat Colorado State a couple years ago. Colorado State scheduled them. I think they won by 5 touchdowns at Colorado State. Now, obviously Oklahoma State's way better than Colorado State, but I'm just saying, if you take them lightly, they'll fuck you up. All right. So check out the FCS college football experience, and check out the Sports Gambling Podcast, the college basketball experience. Pokes got a new coach. Excited for the future there at Stillwater. So check out that, folks, as well. Until next time, this is the college football experience, Oklahoma State Cowboys style. You better start thinking about yours, and we out of here. Run and shoot.